A warm welcome to each one of you. My name is Divya, and we started this Radio Diva initiative almost like 2 years back, not more than 2 years back. And it's a beautiful platform which has evolved over the period of time, where, experts like today's session, they come and they are generous enough to, share their experiences, their knowledge, their wisdom with their life lessons with us and help us be the better version of ourselves. We do have fun sessions also on Thursdays, but yes, slowly, taking baby steps, we are inching towards, good mental health for everyone and happiness for everyone. So that's what our motto is. And we are a happy-go-lucky community. So my today's speaker is Kuwait-based. So she is doing the session all the way from Kuwait. I don't know what is the time there right now, but she holds a master's degree in clinical psychology and an MBA. She's a certified CBT practitioner from Academy of Modern Applied Psychology, UK. She is also a psychotherapist and a hypnotherapist. She has more than 20 years of experience. I mean, that really counts. 20 years of experience in dealing with all mental health related issues, mindset, mindfulness, phobias, depression, anxiety, you name it. And I'm sure she have had experience of everything. So I'm super privileged and honored to have Kavitaji with us tonight. And thank you so much, Kavitaji, for being part of this session. And I'm sure we all will learn a lot from you today. A warm welcome to Kavitaji. I think all of us can give a silent applause or, welcome her in our own way in the group. Welcome, Kavitaji.
Thank you so much, Divya. And my, first of all, a lot of gratitude to Radio Diva for giving me this opportunity to talk to all of you on this channel. This is one topic which actually generates a lot of questions, a lot of queries, whether we talk about, relationship is an all-encompassing word. And if we talk about this concept of relationship, it includes not just the relationship between humans, among the humans, but also relationship with pets, the relationship that we have, with our environment, with the people around. It talks about relationships with even inanimate things, not just the humans. So today I am going to answer most of your queries. If it is in my capacity, yes, definitely, I'll try my best to answer your queries. But beyond that, I just want to say one thing, or in fact, ask one thing from each one of you. You may or may not answer it, it all depends upon your own discretion and on your own choice, whether you want to answer it publicly or on the channel. But just answer one question to yourself. When was the last time you complimented someone? Now, I just want to ask you, how did you feel when you complimented someone? You know what? Whenever we are complimenting or saying something good to someone, there is a chemical reaction which is occurring in our body, in our mind. And this reaction produces a hormone which is called as oxytocin. This hormone is basically called as a love hormone, and it generates a lot of feel-good factor. And this does not generate only by giving compliments. Let me tell you this. It also generates when you show kindness to people, when you spend good time with people, when you feel, just think about those incidents when you had gone for a get-together and you came, you returned home quite elated and you were feeling light. And say, for example, you played a badminton match with your friend and you came home, even though you might be feeling tired, you would be feeling light enough. A nice feeling that you've done something productive. And this nice feeling, when we are just trying to name this feeling, we just call it as feeling good, feeling nice. but it is your hormone which is working. You've actually worked enough to generate this hormone, to excite this hormone within you. And a simple task of complimenting someone, you just can't imagine what an enormous amount of oxytocin it generates. We feel a hitch when somebody gives a compliment. We so underestimate ourselves that we just don't want to accept a compliment. We're not very sure whether the person who is giving us a compliment is absolutely talking genuinely, or is it something just to please me or please anyone. So we are not very sure about it. Now, this is the grace. I would suggest, please accept compliments with grace. You deserve it, and that is the reason you get it. And unless and until you feel that there is some task associated with that compliment, that is the only time when we feel that hitch is there. Okay, that uncertainty is there whether the person is giving it as a genuine compliment or not. But if it is coming free flowing, I think we should accept it more gracefully and more more humbly, rather than just negating the compliment or the importance of the compliment that it produces. What say people? Thank you, Neetaji. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah, for joining. Great. So talking about relationships, what are relationships? Any two or more people, when they join together, they form a relationship. Without even knowing, we form a bond. So you will be open enough to accept, you will be open enough to speak your mind. And that is what is required in a relationship, where we are able to freely communicate with the other person without any inhibitions, without the thought that वो क्या सोचेगा या वो क्या सोचेगी, हम ऐसा कर लें या फिर वैसा कर लें, या हम we are more into people pleasing mode. So a relationship which is based on people pleasing has an agenda. So any relationship which has an agenda may not be long lasting. I'm saying may not be long lasting, but there are always probabilities that it may give birth to a relationship which is being carried for a longer duration, but which grows over a period of time. So you start off with an agenda and it grows over a period of time. Very true. Communication, open communication is ideal parameter for, not an ideal parameter, but an important parameter for an ideal relationship. Along with open communication, tell me what do you think will be the other parameters for a healthy relationship? You may write it in the chat box. Yes, true. Acceptance. Absolutely. Yes. Acceptance. Tolerance. Very nice. Respect. Super.
Flexibility.
Yes, Saliha.
Flexibility.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Trust.
Let go.
Compromise.
Super. Patience.
Yeah.
Letting it go. Yes.
Yes.
Forgiveness.
And compromise and forgiveness also.
Absolutely. Superb. You guys are really superb. Yes. One very important aspect which came out is respect. Respect for the other person. If there is no respect for your fellow mates in a relationship, in a bond, it may never survive the test of time. Even if you have to communicate with your fellow mates, with your relationship, with your relational members, the fact that you have to respect the other person and communicate in a fashion such that we don't hurt the other person is of prime importance. But at the same time, there is a disclaimer to the fact that even if you are showing respect, and you're communicating with respect, please understand it should not be to the extent that you make yourself as a doormat and then you just do things to please the other person. Sometimes it so happens, in order to please someone and in order to camouflage it as a respect, we try to communicate by hurting our own selves. Each one has one's own set of, limitations, and somebody else's, there's no parameter, there's no measuring rod on which we can measure as to ki humne kitna kiya aur dusre ne kitna kiya, first of all. So there is no measuring rod to measure that. So, and if I say that don't expect anything from others, that is also not correct, because we all are humans and we are bound to expect. In a relationship, we are bound to expect something or the other. And that is what a relationship is based on. But the fact that when we cannot change the other person, so what we can do is just change our own perspective. Try to reason out, if the other person is not able to match up to your expectations, what could have been the reason? Is there any other way to look at it? So we tend to remember the negatives, but we tend to forget the positives that we've done or good times that we have shared. So this is a natural.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a wonderful, as Jayaji says, it's a wonderful tip कि हमें कभी भी किसी से मन मुटाव हो तो हम उस समय को याद करें जब हमने अच्छा टाइम बिताया उस पर्सन के साथ, और वो प्रेजेंट जो इश्यू हुआ है वो भूल जाए, क्योंकि forgiveness is so powerful. And एक चीज समझ में आई है, कविता जी, correct me if I'm wrong, when we forgive others, we do ourselves much more, bigger favor than others. हम अपने आप पे सबसे बड़ा वाला favor कर रहे होते हैं. Am I right? Is it?
You're absolutely right. And human behavior is such कि जब हम जैसे compliments की बात करते हैं या gratitude की बात करते हैं, more than, या फिर हम self care की बात करते हैं, तो हम Indian context में इन चीजों को अब importance दे रहे हैं. Nowadays, I mean, people are changing their mindsets now. But previously, we never used to give importance to this. The only time we used to thank was thank God. That was one thing which we used to utter, most commonly. Kuch bhi acha hua, thank God. So, और ये जो concepts हैं of self-care and compliment and gratitude, more than doing good to anybody else, it really, really enhances one's own self-esteem, the way we look at our own selves. And that brings a lot of confidence within oneself. And you can observe, मैं psychologist हूँ, यहाँ पे private practice करती हूँ. And when I see my clients, they come with a low self-esteem. And when we do some tasks and we do some exercises and we talk about a lot of things and then they get compliments, when I give them compliments, it is, they feel good about it. But at the same time, I feel good looking at their faces, that when they give a smile, oh, really? And then they start blushing. And that increases the hormones, the good hormones within not just my mind, but in her mind as well, or his mind as well. So this is what happens, the backstory of what we are doing presently. This is the background behind the mechanism that is working in our mind. And our mind is so dynamic कि आज हम कुछ सोच रहे हैं, आज इस session में you are listening to me and you will promise yourself to improve your relationships, but tomorrow again you'll land up with some conflict with somebody, and that is going to cause distress in your own mind. But this is a natural and phenomena, and this is where I would like to suggest to each one of you that remind yourselves. Our brain has a very short-term memory, though we talk about long-term memory as well. But in general, short-term memory बहुत ही strong होती है brain में. So we remember something only for the present moment, and then we forget. And then we have to purposefully and deliberately, we have to remind ourselves what good had happened to us. And that is where the role of journal comes. I always try to tell my clients, you need to write, you need to identify your feelings, whatever you are feeling, in a relationship also. Whenever we say कि मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है, जब किसी से हम नाराज होते हैं तो हम अक्सर कहते हैं मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है. It is very important to write that feeling. Write it out. गुस्सा आ रहा है. And when you write गुस्सा आ रहा है, then you write क्यों गुस्सा आ रहा है. Try to analyze that feeling. And then try to find facts to support that feeling. Is there any fact? Is there any evidence to support this feeling? If I'm feeling angry, is there something to prove that I am actually feeling angry over this point? And after a moment of time, you will realize actually it was pointless. There was no base in that anger. And then we feel, oh, what am I doing? I'm just wasting my time and my energy. And of course, I'm spoiling the relationship. Coming to one more point in relationships, many a times I have observed in my clients, we tend to, there are something called as, building blocks of a relationship. And bid is one term which was coined by one of the psychologists in US. And he said that bid is one building block of a relationship. And what is a bid? When do we bid? Bid is something like, those are tiny acts of, positive acts that we do, or we behave in that fashion in a relationship, which you do to let the other person enter in your personality. And it is like an entry gate, you connect through the bid with another person. I'll give you an example of a bid. Say, for example, you are sitting with your child in your hall, and you are allowing the child to play around, and you are on your phone, and the child looks at you, and you didn't even notice that the child is looking at you. So you are ignoring the bid. That was a tiny bit of, meaningful daily routine where the child was looking at you and you did not pay attention. Had you paid attention to that bid, you would have built on a bond with the child. So bids are those meaningful, tiny routines which we tend to ignore in a relationship so many times. If anyone owns a pet, the moment you enter the house, the look that you see in the eyes of your pet, whether it's a cat or a dog or any pet whatsoever, even the birdies, you will notice that they will start, their activity, the activity that they are engaged in, it just raises their energy levels. The moment they see you, the moment they feel you. So what is it? It is just a bid. It's nothing but a bid. They can't speak. Maybe they're just barking or they're just meowing, and they are conveying their feelings through that bid. And if we tend to ignore it, do it. I would really ask my audience today, try to ignore that bid of your pet once, and you will see your pet just withdrawing itself in a shell. This is what happens. So talking about the animals, when they are, we call them as, mute people, mute organisms, and still they're able to convey so much through their gestures. What importance does a bid hold? We can realize that. Whether we talk about formal relationships or informal relationships, yes, just the look, that the moment somebody looks at you, That is the point where the person is shouting for attention, and the person is trying to say, hey, look at me, I need you. And if we respond with the similar look, that gives a reassurance and that strengthens the bond. Yes, it is going to work. The relationship is going to last long. The patient understands, looking at the doctor, whether the doctor is going to take care of him or her or not. Even if the best of the doctors, if they are not attending to what the patient is talking about, if they're not listening, they will have a feeling, even if the doctor is, adept enough, is skilled enough to take care of the patient loses trust in the doctor. And it applies to every relationship.
That's very true.
अगर हम खुद खुश नहीं हैं, हम खुद happy नहीं हैं, हम खुद healthy नहीं हैं, healthy, I'm talking about psychological health or mental health. अगर हम खुद healthy नहीं हैं, हम health या happiness नहीं बांट सकते किसी भी तरीके से.
Everyone is mentioning, it's a beautiful session, and rightly pointed out, Kavitaji, that yes, we always give what we have. And what we have is how, what are we filled with? Are we filled of bitterness? Are we filled of hatred? Are we filled with love? Are we filled with happiness? And we will give that only. A perfect explanation, as Sonika mentions. Kavitaji, you explained everything so beautifully and in such a simple way. It's beautiful. So thank you so much.